All right, we are live. Thanks for tuning into the Sheet Metal Shaping podcast. I normally do a tool talk and sheet metal introduction, but today it is very, very different. I have a very special treat for the listeners. The one and only Mr. Richard Rawlings from Gas Monkey Garage in Dallas, Texas. How are you?
What's up, everybody? I'm doing great, man. I love it.
This is fun. I was down at the Baileigh Industrial, a tool event at Gas Monkey, which is where I bumped into Richard. And I said to him, man, you're super smart on the business front. I don't think enough people know who is Richard Rawlings, the entrepreneur. So that's the show flavor for today. I would love to learn a little bit more about how you built your brand, how you built your empire, and also too, for the owner operators out there, how can they do it for themselves? So that's the direction of the show for today. And you got a ton of stuff on the go, man. I'm excited to hear about this.
Yeah. We're like a lot of shops right now. We're in the SEMA crunch, and in probably midsummer, I was not going to go to SEMA this year. I was going to try to take the year off, and because it's a lot of work for me and my guys and what have you. And somehow now, 15 days from now, we've got to be in Vegas with 4 cars. Now, a lot of shops do take multiple vehicles, but they specialize in said vehicles. So they might take 2 or 3 lifted trucks, or 2 or 3 side-by-sides, or 2 Mustangs. We never build the same thing twice. So we literally have 4 completely different genres, different builds, different even powertrains. It's just it's the biggest crunch we've been in ever, and it's a mess back there.
Really, eh? Too funny. I mean, are you a car guy at heart, or are you a business guy? Which are you? Or are you both?
You know what? I'm both. I'm definitely a car guy at heart. I started flipping cars when I was around 13, 14 years old, because from the time I was 7 on, my dad had a paper route that I had to get in the back seat, and I would roll the paper and throw them to the front seat, and he'd throw them out the doors. And back then we didn't have these things in our pocket, so there was a morning paper and an evening paper. And then on the weekend, so I had to run home from school and do it. And then at 2 and 3 in the morning, my dad would get me up, and I'd go do it again. And then I'd get ready for it and go to school. So on the weekend, I'd have to ride my bike around and collect with the little ticket coupon. I'd want my $2, so to speak, like in the movie. And so I knew where all the cars were. So I started flipping cars and asking guys about what's in the garage and what's in the backyard and what have you.
The entrepreneurial blood started young.
It did. I filed my first U.S. government taxes, I believe, at age 12.
Oh, no way. The businessman. Yeah. Were they profitable at 12?
I was.
Yeah.
Sure. But my parents were strict. They raised me, tithe 10 to the church, put 50% of the whole into savings. And so I was left with, roughly 38, 39%, whatever the math is.
What do you think the importance is of learning this type of craft young?
I think that the mind absorbs it faster, and you don't fight it. So I mean, I wish that there was more trades in the schools and more schools out there. I had shop class when I was in high school and stuff, and plastics class and woodworking, and so it's a shame that we're getting away from that. And I think it's going to come back around, because it's like any ebb and flow. We're low right now on craftsmen, and we're going to need them, and people are going to realize that that's a good place to go get a good job and learn a skill. So, they'll start coming back to it.
Do you think it's insurance that's taking it out of schools? I have this feeling like it's insurance. It was too hard to insure some of the shops and stuff like that, and then they just extracted it because of the liability. Do you feel that's what it was, or was it like an interest thing?
I would say that it's probably a combination, but I can see where insurance would get crazy in our suit crazy world that everybody thinks that whatever they did to themselves is somebody else's fault. Then I've never been posed that question, but definitely a good angle.
Back to the business side. So as you were growing up, you cut your teeth in doing paper routes and stuff like this. How did that slowly evolve into what we roughly know now as Gas Monkey Garage?
I didn't start Gas Monkey Garage till I was 40.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So actually, about 40, 41. I was always taught by my dad. I worked hard and had all kinds of little jobs when I was young and always hustling. And my dad was always saying, don't have to work like me, Richard, get a good job with good benefits and good pay and all that. So I ended up being, I decided I wanted to be a cop. So I thought that was a good job. I thought it'd be cool, and it's got good benefits, obviously. So I ended up being a police officer, firefighter, and medic before I was old enough to drink. So, imagine 130-pound, tall, lanky Richard rolling around with a gun and a badge at 20 years old.
It's so fun.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I had a lot of good times, but I did that for about 6 or so years, and it just wasn't for me, the entrepreneurial bug, as you would say. So I ended up getting just leaving. I just got in my car one day and said, "This isn't going to work. I don't want to do this. I don't know what I'm going to do." And that was the first time I've ever seen my dad cry. I think my dad was a tough guy and a badass, and he thought I'd thrown my life away because I didn't have a plan. I just said, "No, I'm not going to do this." And so from there, I stumbled around a little bit and ended up in printing and advertising and building brands for other people. And I found that was a really good niche for me. I was good at building businesses and getting the marketing right and helping them grab market share. And so I ended up owning or building from scratch an advertising and printing firm, and did that for, about 5-6 years, and sold it. A guy come into my office and bought it. And I was like, "That's a good deal. I'll take it." And that's where Gas Monkey came from. Printing companies are supposed to be, clean environments and big lighting. You got to see everything that's going on. So I always kept all my toys and motorcycles and cars and whatever sitting around inside the print shop. And so I just said, "You know what? I think that's the way to do it. I think I'm going to build my own brand." And so I went home and was talking to the wife, and she goes, "I don't even like those shows. They're too much bravado. They're too much kicking boxes and cussing at each other and acting all tough and bandanas down to here and pit bulls on chains." And I said, "You're right." I said, "They're missing the core audience, the moms and the kids and the family get together." When I was a kid, sure, there were hot rods and motorcycles over there, but it wasn't all mean and everybody fighting. And people were, it was camaraderie and community and family. Not to sound too Toretto on you, but it was just, but it really was like that. So, I decided that Gas Monkey needed to be an all-encompassing brand, and I'm still tattooed and got jewelry on and whatever, but I have a poodle. You met her; she was up there, and it's all about that. And so when I was telling my wife what I was thinking, she goes, "So you've never been on TV? You've never done this, and you just think you're going to build a brand and go beat these guys on Discovery and be the #1 brand in the world?" And I said, "Well, like we do in Texas, hold my beer and watch this."
That's right. You guys are into everything too. Like you're a beer, barbecue sauce, sweatshirts, you name it. You're all over.
Yeah. We just took a position with Garage Beer, shameless plug. We're only up in Ohio and about 6 or 7 states around there right now, but we're growing so fast that, like with any business, I'm sure anybody out there listening knows, sometimes growing fast can be a pain in the rear because you're juggling cash. You need more equipment or more product, and you don't have the cash in yet. And so we're going through some pains, but it's really, really badass. And I'm excited to be in this business. And yeah, I did launch some Texas salsas the other day. They're doing real well. We just launched them about 2 weeks ago. They're table sauces. Later will come barbecue sauce and rib rubs and all the stuff like that. And then maybe even actual picante sauce. But
nice.
We've got tequila up and running. We've got T-shirts, all that kind of stuff. And, I built this brand to do all that. This was a plan from, March will be our 20th year in business. And the business plan that I wrote was to, build the business around what I love: cars, motorcycles, motor, get the street cred, build stuff, be in the shows, be active in the community, be a pillar of the community anywhere I can, and get the street cred and get the magazines and get the shows, and then make my own show. A lot of people think Discovery just found Gas Monkey Garage and Richard got lucky, but the truth is I came to the concept and shot it and shot my own sizzle reels and would go to Hollywood and knock on every door that I could get, and I'd either get denied or I'd get notes, and I'd come back and do it again and go back to Hollywood. And, so I beat the doors for about 8 years
Wow.
before I finally got Discovery to give me a shot. And so they came back and they said, we'll do 6 shows. And I'm like, that's not enough for me to prove my concept. I'm like, I need at least 10 or 12. And so they're like, well, 6 is all we're willing to do. And, by the time we finished filming, these shows haven't even aired yet. The first 3, they ordered 12 more. And by the time the first season aired, they ordered 23 more. And so we were off to the races. And in the business plan was to get into restaurants, bar and grills, live music, the liquor business, the energy drink business, all of that kind of stuff. So it was really a very, very ambitious plan that probably should have never worked. But I just wouldn't give up. I was like a dog on a bone. I wasn't going to stop. And I went dead broke twice trying to do it.
Really?
Yeah. And one of those times was right when I got TV. It was so hard. They didn't give you any money, but I had to supplement it to make the show that I wanted to make.
So did you have to take a loss making the show in order to build the brand long term? Like, did you have to go down before you came up?
I did until I was a proven enough entity that I could twist their arm a little bit. We were losing on every single episode. I mean, we were losing big, but the brand was already out there. And, the brand really took off at that point. Before the show, we would go to a car show and sell $20,000-$30,000 worth of t-shirts in a 3-day weekend, which is phenomenal compared to a lot of companies. But now I'm dealing in a nationwide. The internet was being built, and people do and don't trust coming on to the internet to buy shirts. And now we're a totally internet-based clothing brand, and all the other stuff you can order online. So it's come from, had to come here. I think you saw the brown swag van out front.
Yeah,
that was our first thing that we sold t-shirts out of, and we had it parked on the side of the road out in front of the shop. And if somebody wanted a shirt, they'd yell at us or something. We'd come unlock it and sell them a shirt. And so it's been a pretty crazy road. Now we're in 100 countries, translated into 20 languages. I haven't made a new show for Discovery since 2019. We're still the #1 automotive motorcycle lifestyle show in the world. And I just got back from a trip to Italy. I went to about 5 different cities, and you would have thought that the Beatles were there. It was, I mean, I'm getting stopped everywhere I go, and I'm like, man, I'm dressed differently. I'm wearing linen pants and a linen shirt, and trying to do the Italy thing with my wife, and they're just people going crazy. It was really fun though. It's nice to see that the brand is accepted all around the world.
And when you built the company, from the get-go, did you know that you were going to have to go big in order to make this work? Because if Discovery didn't come in till later on with the whole TV thing, I mean, your marketing mind might have been working, but practically you had to float the boat until then. So where did the brand really take off?
Well, one of the first things I did, I knew we had to get on the show circuit. So I went out and bought an incredible 18-wheeler big rig that had a toter home on it that I lived in while I was on the road. And it was you see them all the time now, but back then nobody had giant 18-wheeler rigs just because they had a hot rod shop. So we had the perception of you guys are huge. Where did you come from? We're from Texas. We do everything bigger and better, and all this kind of stuff. And so we were selling the fact that we're this big brand, before we were, and it was just, I wasn't gonna let up on it. I mean, I think I paid $1.1 million for that truck. I don't remember.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, it was expensive. But I put it on payments. I didn't have that kind of money at all. That was nowhere near. This is a little bit on entrepreneurial. After I sold my company, sold everything, did everything I needed to do, me and my wife at the time kept our finances separate. She paid her stuff, I paid my stuff. Mm-hmm. I only had about $175,000. That's what I started Gas Monkey with.
Wow.
And I know that people have started with way less, but it's pretty small compared to what we tried to, what we were going to pull off.
How did you have the foresight to say, how do I maximize my 175?
That was more just one employee, super cheap shop. No shop if we didn't have to have it. I don't think we got into our first shop until about 6 or 8 months in.
Oh, no way.
Because the plan was to get on the road and show off. So we were building in my garage of my house, and whatever it took, borrowing people's area. And, of course, I'm also, part of marketing and part of telling, I'm a big believer in you put it out there. I didn't win the lotto, but I put it out there like crazy yesterday. But I would tell people I get a lot of fun out of going out there in the public now, and some guy will come out and go, man, I remember you used to run around, tell everybody how you're going to be a big shot, and you're going to be on TV, and you're going to be better than those other guys, and you're going to sell a million T-shirts and all this. And I'm like, yeah. He's like, and you damn did, So it was a little bit of putting it out there too.
In terms of growing the business, so you'd mentioned one employee going from like a 2-car garage or, working in a garage, going to where you are now. I mean, if you didn't own any real estate then and you own the real estate now versus having one or no employees then versus having some employees now and some staff, how did that growth look?
It was scary as hell. I mean, when I bought this building, it was the first real estate, play I'd ever made other than my home. And it was scary. I mean, and it seemed so huge. It was like, I'll never, ever need this, but it's a good deal and I should go ahead and buy it. And no, you don't need it. Yes, you do. And so now, we own almost a whole city block here, and, all the way around. We're missing 4 or 5 buildings, and we're using them. It's crazy. It's like tables in a shop. Everybody will understand. I hate tables in the shop because they become shelves. And, you fill them up. So you get another building, you're going to fill it up. It's just the way it goes.
And your buildings are beautiful too. Like when we were there for the event, I mean, gosh, fully catered, everything was clean. You could eat off the floors, lots of space, brightly lit, like dial in.
That comes from the fireman in me, keeping everything absolutely flawless, perfect, ready to go. And that was drilled in me. I mean, also my dad, he was a neat, clean freak. And, he didn't take to not getting up and making your bed and stuff like that.
What about scale? Like in terms of margins, so as you're growing, how does growth affect the net margin of a business? I know a lot of owner operators are looking at the bottom line saying, how do I grow, or how do I hire a manager when that's going to directly affect my bottom line? You went down before you went up. I mean, how did that process look and play out like behind the scenes?
I kept as small as possible at all times, even at the height of Fast and Loud. And we were building, cars start to finish in 28 days, and doing every single thing on it. There was no weird ghost crews or no magic of television. We were building those cars. I only had 6 guys back there. And I want to do a show like Fast and Loud 0.20 I'm sure that there's guys that would like to say, yeah, I could do that if I had Richard's shop. And I want to go, come on in. Here it is. Let's see I think you'll see grown men cry. I mean, it's so much pressure and what have you. But the ebb and flow, once you can get it turned around, doesn't mean you're out of the woods yet, because it can change real fast. So I always saved. I didn't pay myself much at all. Still don't. I put every dollar back into the business, other than, pretty much the food and the beer I drink. Everything just stays in here, which now that I'm on the other side, I'm kind of like thinking, well, now what are we going to do? We got to sell more and start taking some salaries, and then maybe sell this thing in 10 or 15 years.
I'd love to talk about business valuation shortly here, in terms of like what you're actively working on now and the cars that you're building. When I was there, you and I were talking a little bit about, cars being one component to the brand, but then the brand being the bigger component to the business, right? Is cars really the front end and the brand really the back end?
No, it's the opposite way. We use the cars and the vehicles, the motorcycles and everything that we build to enhance and push the brand and to make the content. It's content to consumer world. So we make the product to build alliance with the brand itself, whether it's getting people to the restaurants or to buy the tequila or the shirts and hats and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And that keeps the brand alive and allows us to do it. We don't have customers. Very rarely, maybe once in a blue moon, I'll take an actual customer because it's a lot of work. So we can build what we want to build faster, quicker, easier, and then sell it than we could if we had a customer. It's my favorite saying, if it weren't for customers, employees, and vendors, business would be easy.
So then the cars that you're building, that's the face, but people buy into the lifestyle and everything that is Gas Monkey. And then that's what allows you to sell more stuff, more goods.
Exactly. And then they go watch the show, and that's a revenue generator. They want to see what we're doing each day. We moved to the YouTube platform after we left Discovery. And while YouTube was coming up and you have all these people that have a bazillion followers, we didn't, because I wasn't allowed to by Discovery. When I signed my deal with Discovery, they had me in all media. Well, social media did not exist. YouTube didn't exist. Facebook didn't exist. So they were very hands-on keeping me back from that, because they knew that I would realize how much more money there was on the other side of the fence, and I'd want to leave.
So then how do you determine lifetime value for your customer? Because if you're gonna go and you're going to start this brand and you're going to build this big thing, how did you know that at the end of the road, when you got all of these eyeballs, the value of that customer buying all the goods, the mugs, the contests, all the stuff, how did you know that lifetime value was going to be higher than what you were going to spend to acquire it?
I didn't know that math back then. It was more of build it and they will come. The guys before me did, so I can do it. And I didn't really have that knowledge in my head going into it. I knew what I wanted to build, and I knew that they would come if I did it right, but I didn't look into lifetime value of a customer or cost of acquisition or any of those kind of things. Those are things I kind of learned along the way.
So you're just like, let's just do this thing and see where it rolls.
It really was, because at the end of the day, I knew I could flip cars. I knew I could have, I knew that this business would make me a good living and I would have fun doing it. And a lot of guys will call me up and they'll say, I want to have a shop like yours. I want to do all these things. And I'm like, well, you got to make a choice. Do you want to make a good living, good enough to be comfortable, have a house, go on vacations, put your kids through college, you just work hard and have a normal life? Or do you want to make money? And it's always a different answer for different people. Some people just want that living. Being, in my shoes, it's a lot of crazy work, and it's a lot of attention and detail, and you have to smile. You're over in Positano with your lovely wife stuffing some pizza in your mouth, and people come up and want to take a picture, and you're mid chew. Yeah. And you gotta have the wherewithal in you to go, yeah, let's do it, man. I love it. Love that you love the show. And it sounds easy, but it's a lot of work, a lot of stress to always be 100% on and treat the people right, because that was one of the things that I did when I was researching what I wanted to build. I went to the shops that were on TV, and I tried to meet the people that were on TV. And with the exception of Chip Foose, I was treated like shit. And I'm there trying to visit people that I think are my heroes, the ones that, I want to know about. I want to talk to you. This is cool. And it's like, wow, that's basically what I got. And so I knew that being a gracious host and being humble about, at the end of the day, the people that are part of the brand and love the brand, those are the people that are putting steak on the plate.
So shameless plug for you. When I was at your shop, we were sitting there chilling in your office. I think we were having a beer, actually. We were just hanging out in your office. And somebody came in from outside and they said, hey, there's a customer who's bought a bunch of stuff at the merch store. There's a customer outside who really wants to meet you. Like without even thinking about it, you're like, let's go meet that person. You threw on some sunglasses, boom, out the door. Thank you so much for coming. I mean, I think that just shows your character of you saying, hey, I wouldn't be here without the people who come and buy all the things and follow all the social media and support us. Right. And so I thought that was super cool. You could have said, too busy, but you didn't.
Yeah, I really try to do that every time I can. I mean, because they've traveled here. 99% of the people that come to Gas Monkey they've traveled here. They're on vacation, or this is a stop that they wanted to make. People in Dallas aren't coming to buy a Gas Monkey t-shirt. They've got one, And so I think it's important to go out there and greet them. They've put in the work. There's no reason that I shouldn't.
So let's make a transition in talking about the, the entrepreneur, and the brand that you've built to maybe how somebody can do this for themselves at home. So you talked about somebody saying, I just want to make a living. I just want to get by and put my kids through college versus, how do we get rich? What's the difference in your opinion between making a living versus making a fortune?
You know what? That's different for every single person. I had a number in my head that if I got there, I'm done. And that number, when you get there, trust me, that number is not good enough anymore. You want more. That number is always a moving target. Some people just want to make a good living and do good quality work. And that is at my core, that's where it's at. But I also wanted to build something legacy, something that would stay way beyond my days, something that maybe I could pass on to my son or another family member, or even sell to a big corporation for big money, like Jesse did. I think he sold for $45 million or something, which, today would be $150 million.
Yeah.
So, I had both of those ambitions. I wanted to do the make a living thing, but I also wanted to make this thing, this unbelievable lifelong, and now I feel like I've accomplished it because we've got 2.5 generations of people. The dads that started watching the guy that started watching my show had a kid and he introduced their kid to it. And now those kids are having kids and so on. So it's this, really cool thing that it makes me understand how old I am, because people come up to me all the time. 30-year-olds are walking up to me. I watched you all the time I was a kid. And I'm like, I'm not that old, man. But, so, it's different for everyone.
When you were going through that,
it's hard. It's, if you look at it in the motor world, what is there? There's Chip, there's Jesse, there's Orange County, there's kind of Boyd Coddington, but he was already a wheel manufacturer. Mm-hmm. There's not that many super success stories out there. And there's been hundreds of guys come through the ranks, or shops come through the ranks.
Yeah. And would you agree that the graveyard of entrepreneurs who tried to do this and failed is quite extensive versus the people who actually bubble to the top and are, actually winning?
Oh yeah, it is. The graveyard is 99%. It takes a little bit of luck. It takes a little bit of skill. It takes a little bit of planning and a whole lot of fortitude. Because there were times that, I'd cry like a grown man and wonder why I'm doing it. And then the next day I'd pull my boots on and go back at it.
Where we go. Yeah.
We're in it. Let's go till we don't.
For the people who are selling services, would you recommend that they sell goods? Or for the people selling goods, would you recommend that they sell services? Like how can you stack up on a business to make it a little bit more profitable?
I love the service business because it's repeatable and it's scalable and what have you. What I don't like about the service business is one person can only do so much service. So then you got to have another person. And here in Dallas, Fort Worth, I've got one of my best friends owns a large scale air conditioning and heating service company. And I'm talking 400 trucks go out every day. 400. And he scaled it immaculately. It's a phenomenal business model. But at the same time, it's like, that's 400. I have problems with my 5 people. I don't know if I can handle 400 of them, but I do like the service businesses themselves. And then, if you're selling a product, that's the problem. That if you get into making a product, like we were talking about earlier, you got fabricators, people that are making something that they're going to sell. How many of them can you make? And then can you scale that business? It's like I tell people when they want to get into motor, it's like, yeah, but how many cars can you make a year? Like me, my guys, not necessarily me, are some of the best in the world. And we couldn't turn out more than 12 cars a year. And that would be unbelievable work. A good shop is going to turn out 1 or 2 if they're good. And, and usually not even that. So you can't scale making hot rods. You can scale servicing them or working on them. But as far as being a custom only shop, we build hot rods, that's unscalable.
Yeah. Is there an economic dead zone in scale, like a place where the margin falls off, but then comes back again later on, depending on your sales volume?
Right now, I wouldn't touch a car for less than probably $450.
Yeah.
And I'd probably try to get $650. And it sounds huge, but there's 6 guys, making 100 and something an hour, and you can add that up, and you add up the parts and everything else, and then you try to put some profit on it. There's not a lot there. So I don't see it.
Do you have any quick rules of thumb on, like, let's just say you do $1 million in sales? What should your margin be in an automotive service related business?
In an automotive service business, you should be aiming for around 20-22% net bottom line. And I would say in a build business, it's going to fluctuate. You might get lucky and really come in good on one, but the next one's going to bite you in the rear. You're going to have to eat something. So it's an ebb and flow. But any business that you can put 20% to the bottom line is a pretty good business. But you got to have other things. If you can build a brand around you that people want to be involved in, and a lot of this evolving, especially in the trades industry, is turning into now teaching, putting out the YouTube videos. This is how I did this. This is how I did that. We put out the content of what we make, and we want to turn apparel, to the tune of a lot. This year we'll do, I don't know, little north of $35 million in apparel.
It's a lot of mugs, Richard. Jeez.
It's just a lot of stuff. But again, we're over the hump. We're in 100 countries. We've got those 2.5 generations that are watching us, and keeping up with us. And it's just so fun to watch it grow. It really is.
How does that actually work behind the scenes? Do you guys design the stuff and then somebody else manufactures the stuff? And because you have such a wide reach, that's how you sell it, through online or in person?
No, we do all our design and everything in-house. And we do have a manufacturer make it, but I do try to stay American made as much as I can. If not American made, we do try to make sure that we employ American businesses to do the embellishment, whether it's the screen print or the mug print or whatever. It's real hard in this industry at the level that we're at to get there, because then we still have to stay in a price point that our competitors are at. That's why, if I was to make that nice shirt that I wear that's American made, it would price point out way further than the customer would either want to afford or could afford. So I wish that we could get back to America manufacturing. I really do, because I think that's something that's important for the country itself.
And when people are buying Gas Monkey apparel, I mean, this is the interesting thing about brands. So because you built such a big brand, are people buying the shirt, or are they buying what the shirt represents? Like, what is it that sells apparel? Maybe not just you, but globally.
I think they're buying into that lifestyle, no matter what it is. They're buying in. They've accepted that. They want to be part of that. They think that that's great. And that's their style, or that's the style they want it to be. It's the same with a car. If you think about it, some people drive Subarus, some people drive Corvettes. A car is an extension of your being. And I think what you put on your back is the same thing. It's an extension of your being and who you want to be like, who you like, who you would want to emulate, and things like that.
A couple quotes here. I want to read these to you. Tell me if you agree or disagree. Some people are in business for 10 years, but in fact, they've been in business for 1 and lived the same year 10 times over. Agree or disagree? Why? Because they didn't make any change. They were just worried about cutting it out. They didn't pay attention to changes in technology. They didn't want to change the way they do things. And what have you. Those that are resistant to change are going to repeat year over year. One more here. Sometimes the best deal is no deal at all. Agree or disagree?
Oh, I agree. I think that sometimes the best deal is the one that you didn't spend enough time researching. And you could get sold a bunch of, we know the expletive for that. So sometimes it's better to pay for the right product than it is to try to get one cheap. That's why there's Snap-on and Harbor Freight.
That's a good comparison. As we wind this down, what motivates you now? You're on the peak of your game. You're building big stuff. You're all over the map. Everybody knows they got eyeballs on you. What's next?
I've had this question before, and it's the same answer every time. Sure, there were times when I only had 1 employee, and there's times when I have a lot. whether it was in the printing and advertising or in the shop here and stuff like that, because we've got a lot of superficial employees around, not just the guys in the shop. So it is what motivates me now, because I'm an empty nester, is I've got to get up and I've got to do my job and I've got to dance like a monkey, I always say. And I've got to do all that so that all these guys and gals that work here at Gas Monkey and all the people that sell Gas Monkey around the world and all the people that are involved in it can do their job and provide for their families. So what really motivates me and really makes me happy, no BS, is I love watching payroll go out. I love it. I don't really have a reason to have to look at it. I've got people that do it. I trust them and everything, but I always go in, what is the payroll this quarter or this paycheck, and what's the totals and stuff. Cause that means I did my job. There's money in the bank. Those guys and gals are going to take their money home and take care of their kids and put them through college. And it's just really cool to have that effect.
Any selling of the business in the near future? You mentioned that a little bit earlier. I would like to build this into an entity that could be sold, but the truth be told, it'll probably be built into several entities that are sold differently. We've got the restaurant and bar verticals. We've got the Gas Monkey Studios vertical that is going to blow people's mind. I've got a little bit of an axe to grind with Discovery, and I'm going to surpass them in the motor category. And don't be surprised. I think I told David Zaslav the last time I saw him, you will buy me. Because you're going to have to, you've got this motor vertical, and I'm going to outdo you. And so we want to build that, and we've got a lot of stuff happening there. And then we've got the spirits vertical. So it'll probably be something that gets built, and pieces will get sold off. And I would love to, see this brand go for 100 years. We're just going to surpass 20 next March. So we got a long ways to go, and I won't be there to see it, but I really hope it does. Man, this has been so much fun. You've got this suave, gritty businessman, just so intelligent, super smart, really down to earth. I think people think of Gas Monkey as being the automotive brand, but really you're behind the scenes saying, hey, let's adjust the dials, let's pull the levers, let's make the thing like a real business. And I don't think enough people know that about you. So thank you for shedding some light on that. And I hope you had fun today. Thanks for being on the show. Where can people find out more about you?
Well, thank you for the compliments, and same back at you. I like your style. YouTube, go like, subscribe, watch. If you haven't been watching us because you didn't know we're now on YouTube every week, you're about 300 episodes behind. And on top of that, gasmonkeygarage.com. We're giving away a TRX right now with 100,000 cash and a chance at $1 million in cash above that. So we're doing the sweepstakes thing, and they can always stop by here, just like we said, 2330 Merrill Road, come by. If it's towards the afternoon, I'll probably have a beer with you.
Have a beer. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks for tuning into the Sheet Metal Shaping podcast. Don't forget to like, share, follow, subscribe, and tell a friend if you had a good time today. And we will see you on the next episode.